Body language expert reveals if protester rattled King Charles after monarch stumbles during speech. A body language expert is sharing if and how the senator who heckled King Charles III affected his actions and demeanor. King Charles has embarked on his Australian tour with his wife, Queen Camilla, formerly Camilla Parker Bowles, less than 9 months after revealing he was diagnosed with cancer and seeking treatment. The royal couple received a mostly warm reception and welcome to the country. However, during a reception at Australia's Parliament House on October 21, Indigenous Independent Senator Lidia Thorpe yelled at the monarch that he was not her king and Australia was not his land. The following day, King Charles visited Parramatta Park and delivered a speech in which he stumbled at one part. Some wondered if that had anything to do with the king possibly still being rattled from the senator's heckling the day before. Here's more on that and what a body expert noticed from the monarch during the protest. Hello viewers, please remember to subscribe and click on the notifications bell icon, so you will be notified whenever we upload new cookies about the British royal family. While the King and Queen were at the Premier's community barbecue at the park, Charles gave a 4-minute speech and he hit a snag during the remarks. Express noted that at one point the King was heard saying over the microphone, "Hang on, I picked up 2 pages of this bloody thing." After a moment, he continued with his speech telling the audience, "It is a particular delight to see and smell all the top tucker from Western Sydney's vibrant and diverse community. As we are happily rediscovering today, New South Wales farmers continue to produce truly outstanding food and wine. It is no wonder, I think, that Sydney is world famous for its cuisine, whether it's smashed avo, a pav, or a cab sav, and that is what I hope has been on display." Darren Stanton is a body language and behavioral expert with a degree in psychology. He previously worked as a police officer and used his expertise to uncover the truth when interviewing hundreds of suspects. He later moved into media and TV as a consultant, and has been dubbed the human lie detector. According to Stanton, one thing doesn't have to do with the other because the king was never affected by the protester in the first place. Speaking on behalf of Spin Genie, the expert explained, "Charles isn't fazed at all. This isn't the first time something like this has happened, and he's managed to keep his composure well. He wasn't perturbed at all." Camilla leans sideways and smiles. "They don't appear to have taken it too seriously. In terms of feeling in danger, there's none of that. Overall, his body language doesn't change, from sitting down, delivering his speech, and when the heckling did happen, there were no changes in his body language. It was all congruent with him demonstrating genuine joy and happiness at being in Australia, and addressing the audience. In terms of phasing the king, I don't think he was at all. He shows a great deal of resilience just like his mother always did." Stanton added, "Charles and Camilla are completely still, stoic and composed, both of them. Charles is sitting talking to the people to the left of him while this is going on, and in another angle we see Charles is amused by it, we see him smiling. You can see from a non-verbal point of view, he's still in the same position as he was before the heckling. Both Charles and Camilla have seen this all before, and something of this nature is not going to perturb them whatsoever, it's business as usual." The optics of his response paint him as very calm here. King Charles to resume full program of international travel in major health update amid cancer battle. Royal commentator Charles Ray believes King Charles will be happy to restart his cancer treatment. Buckingham Palace is making long-term plans for the king to resume a full program of international travel next year, suggesting a further boost to His Majesty's cancer recovery. The unexpected revelation comes as King Charles and Queen Camilla complete their successful tour of Australia and Samoa. The trip saw His Majesty's first overseas trip to a realm where he reigns as head of state, and to a Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, CHOGM, as the institution's head. A senior palace official told GB News, "We are now working on a pretty normal-looking full overseas tour program for next year, which is a high for us to end on, to know that we can be thinking in those terms. Buckingham Palace is making long-term plans for the King to resume a full programme of international travel next year, suggesting a further boost to His Majesty's cancer recovery. Doctors have given the King, and his staff, the green light to begin preparations to carry out 2 international tours in the spring and autumn of 2025, but will be subject to medical advice nearer the time. The Foreign Office has been informed the King is well enough to travel overseas next year, and Buckingham Palace is awaiting government proposals on where to send His Majesty in their mission to promote Britain on the global stage. The King and Queen proved a big hit with Australian citizens, many of which were turned away from an official meet and greet outside the Sydney Opera House because the venue had reached its 10,000 capacity. Police, instead, directed the excess well-wishers to the nearby botanical gardens to watch the royal occasion from a distance. Throughout King Charles' 9-day tour of Australia and Samoa, he has continued to work through his red boxes of state papers, which had to be physically flown from London, thousands of miles away. Despite His Majesty's grueling schedule of public engagements, and busying himself behind the scenes with paperwork, he has kept his mind active. The unexpected revelation comes as King Charles and Queen Camilla complete their successful tour of Australia and Samoa. A senior palace official told GB News it's a great measure of the way that the King is dealing with his cancer diagnosis, and he's a great believer in mind, body and soul, and this combination works very well on a visit like this, because he feels that sense of duty so strongly. It's hard to overstate the joy that he takes from duty and service and being in public and seeing those crowds engaging with communities across the spectrum. That really does lift his spirits. You can see that. Despite the grueling schedule, special rest breaks were factored in to keep His Majesty's energy levels up. In Sydney, Charles and Camilla were spotted casually strolling through the gardens of Admiralty House, where they were staying. In Samoa, a tropical island paradise, it is understood the King enjoyed a good book to relax into. The Queen, in particular, is thought to have enjoyed the warm weather, and has supported her husband throughout the tour. The Queen, in particular, is thought to have enjoyed the warm weather, and has supported her husband throughout the tour. The King gets great strength from the Queen being there, a senior palace official said, not least because she keeps it real. When New Zealand was taken off the itinerary on medical advice at an early stage, the King and Queen were said to be extremely disappointed. A private audience, however, was scheduled between His Majesty and New Zealand's Prime Minister, Christopher Luxon, in Samoa on Friday. Despite his health troubles, the King was determined to make the long journey to the other side of the world.